The UFC is on fire right now with star-studded showdowns and game-changing rumors. From Jon Jones' unpredictable heavyweight reign to Conor McGregor's outlandish promises, fans can't stop talking about who's going to face whom and when. But beyond the usual headlines, there are deeper whispers of career-defining moves and contentious debates swirling around the sport's biggest names. Today we're diving into every explosive storyline that could change the MMA landscape forever. Jon Jones has done it all. He's beaten legends, collected belts, and left no doubt about his place as one of the all-time greats. But even after silencing Stipe Miocic in spectacular fashion, he's not exactly riding into the sunset without a fight. Instead, he's fueling rumors that he might just go toe-to-toe with former middleweight champ Alex Pereira. Dana White, however, has repeatedly stressed that the UFC's priority is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, especially given the Englishman's meteoric rise in the heavyweight division. Still, Jones seems more intrigued by the thought of stepping in with Pereira, a skilled striker known for making quick work of the best in 2 weight classes. Some see it as a negotiation tactic, generate talk of a more dazzling matchup to snag a few more dollars. Others believe Jones truly wants another stand-up war with a man many see as an unstoppable force on the feet.
Possibility. I mean, Rogan is pushing me right now to try to make that fight. It's just, guys, let me explain something to you. Jon Jones is a whole nother. I consider Jon Jones the greatest combat fighter of all time.
Either way, speculation keeps growing. Will it be Aspinall, Pereira, or a curveball no one sees coming? But that wasn't the whole story, fans say. They sense a power play in motion. If Jones holds out for an epic clash with Pereira, the UFC might be forced to back up a truckload of cash to keep him active. After all, love him or hate him, there's no question people pay to see Jon Jones test himself. While Jones toys with possibilities, Tom Aspinall keeps forging ahead. He's been on a tear, earning an interim championship that some consider the rightful next step toward a unification bout. Dana White is so sold on Aspinall's potential that he's vowed to do everything in his power to make that fight happen. If Jones versus Aspinall materializes, it pits one of MMA's greatest champions against a hungry, dynamic heavyweight who's building a legacy of highlight reel finishes. Aspinall's quick hands, agile footwork, and lethal grappling have already redefined how we look at heavyweights. Putting him across the octagon from Jones would create a classic passing of the torch moment, or it could reinforce Jones's throne at the top. If the two collide, the entire heavyweight division will shift overnight. Will it become Aspinall's era, or will Jones cement his reign with an undeniable exclamation point? And what happened next would shock everyone. Because if Jones decides not to sign on the dotted line for Aspinall, the UFC may scramble for a new story. And in that scramble, fans sometimes get surprising matchups that no one saw coming.
I wish they would let me next door so I can spit in your face.
You know I would absolutely kill you if you ever did something like that,
You
right?
could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could.
Then you should try, John. You really should try, John.
No, I would literally kill you. I'm not saying I would fight you. I said I would kill you.
Belal Muhammad is no stranger to being overlooked. Despite an impressive run, he's often overshadowed by flashier names in the welterweight division. Yet when the topic turns to Shavkat Rakhmonov, the undefeated wrecking machine from Kazakhstan, Belal doesn't back down. In fact, he's made it clear he sees vulnerabilities in Shavkat's game, holes he intends to exploit. That's bold talk, considering Rakhmonov has finished every single opponent in his MMA career except for one. But Belal has turned many doubters into believers. He's got a seemingly endless gas tank and the kind of pressure-based wrestling that can wear down even the hardest hitters. If these two eventually meet, the winner could skyrocket into title contention. It's a collision of unstoppable force versus immovable object, with Belal vowing that he won't fold under hype or fear. Will Shavkat's monstrous power conquer Belal's resilience, or is Muhammad poised to hand Rakhmonov his first loss? But the tension doesn't end there. This is a rivalry that could reshape the top 5 in one of the UFC's most competitive weight classes. If Belal pulls off the upset, we're looking at a contender nobody can ignore. If Shavkat steamrolls another top-level foe, the welterweight title conversation shifts once again. It seemed like a groundbreaking move.
And for me, it's when you're fighting a guy like Shavkat where they put him on this pedestal to be like this, undefeated crazy guy. I see holes in his game. And the same way I saw holes in Leon's game, I think Leon's a better striker than Shavkat. But mentally, I think Shavkat's a lot stronger. Like, I don't see him breaking mentally. The biggest thing for him is now you're fighting a guy that's not afraid of you. Everybody he fights, they come in there with nerves and they're afraid. Oh, they put him on, oh, he's crazy. He's a robot. He's this, and that. And a lot of guys would just fold just because out of that fear. So for me, I'm going to be in his face the whole time.
New UFC gloves designed to cut down on eye pokes and hand injuries. But sometimes good intentions fall flat. A wave of fighter complaints led Dana White to officially toss out the new gloves. Now, the promotion is reverting to the older design that, while not perfect, many fighters found more comfortable. Meanwhile, Anthony Smith has declared he's stepping into the octagon for his retirement fight. He's booked to face surging newcomer Mingyang Jang, a dangerous competitor riding an 11-fight winning streak. Smith's decision to hang up the gloves after this bout comes in the wake of personal tragedy and a tough loss to Dominic Reyes. A victory in his final appearance would be a fitting finale for Lionheart, who's been a stalwart of the division for years. Yet if Jang makes a statement by finishing the legend, he'll carve his name into the light heavyweight ranks in a big way. But the clock is ticking. Everyone wants to see if Smith can overcome adversity and end on a triumphant note. Fighters often talk retirement, but their hearts pull them back into action. This time, Smith says, it's for real. Alexander Volkanovski has never been one to waste time. After losing a razor-close decision to Ilia Topuria, you'd think the Aussie featherweight king might take a longer break. Instead, he's already deep in a new training camp over in Thailand. His team teases that we'll get an official fight announcement soon, and the safe bet is on that rematch with Topuria, especially after the rising phenom flattened Max Holloway. Still, as fans know, the UFC can always throw in a surprise. Could we see a different opponent stake a claim to Volkanovski's belt? Volk remains one of the hardest workers in MMA, known for drilling every facet of his game until it's flawless. If we do get Volkanovski versus Topuria 2, expect even more fireworks than their first clash. All eyes are on the champion's camp footage, with fans dissecting every sparring clip for clues about his strategy. And what happens next could be career-defining. Because if Volk manages to shut down Topuria in decisive fashion, his place among featherweight legends grows even stronger. But a second loss would upset the division and put an exclamation point on Topuria's meteoric rise.
Hopefully fight announcement soon. But we in camp, been in camp for a while. We've been doing like a pre-camp camp. So now we're pretty much in camp. Good bodies here for us already. Or even at Bangtao, you always got good bodies here. But I've got Craig Jones here that's come with us. Joe's with us. Obviously Frank, Brad's here. So we've got a heap of good guys to work with while we're over here.
If there's one fighter who can generate headlines with a single tweet, it's Conor McGregor. The Irish superstar has repeatedly hinted at a foray into bare-knuckle fighting championship. He now insists that it's not just a pipe dream. He guarantees it will happen. The big question is when, given that McGregor is still tied to the UFC for 2 more fights, and he hasn't competed since 2021. McGregor claims a bare-knuckle world title would cement his legacy in a way no one could dispute. After all, if you survive and thrive in the BKFC ring, no one can call you soft. Fights against Mike Perry, Jeremy Stevens, or even a rematch with Eddie Alvarez have fans salivating. The UFC brass, however, might have other ideas. They're unlikely to let their biggest cash cow walk into another promotion's ring anytime soon. McGregor's bombastic talk could be a tactic to keep himself relevant, or maybe he's truly determined to add BKFC to his wild resume. But the clock is still running. Will McGregor's next appearance be inside a UFC cage opposite Michael Chandler? Or will he shock the world by bolting sooner than expected? One thing's for certain, he thrives on creating suspense, and fans are eager to see whether he really goes through with that BKFC vow.
If you think I'm up here giving these speeches and leading these men into battle, and I won't step in there myself, think again. For sure, Conor McGregor will fight in bare knuckle fighting championship. Mark my words. I'd like a world title in this company. I would wish to be the bare knuckle world champion. That is a significant belt to hold.
When Andre Petroski upset a highly touted Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, he seized the moment. With the microphone in hand, he called out Bo Nickel, perhaps the most hyped wrestler turned fighter in the UFC right now. Fans expected Nickel to respond, but no one anticipated his scathing reply, calling Petroski a can and implying it's a step backward. Nickel, now ranked in the middleweight top 15 after dispatching a tough opponent, seems to be focused on bigger game. Petroski, on the other hand, wants to ride his momentum into a marquee showdown. For Nickel, the question is whether he risks derailing his upward climb by facing an unranked contender. For Petroski, it's the ultimate chance to vault into the spotlight if he can shock the world. And the tension keeps building, because Nickel's unwavering confidence might embolden Petroski to push harder. Or maybe the UFC decides the fans deserve a classic wrestling versus grappling showdown. Either way, the middleweight landscape is rumbling, and Nickel stands at its epicenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the winner, Bo Nickel. Bo, this has been a quick rise to the rankings. Coming in here and fighting a guy like Paul Craig, who's finished Jamal Hill and Magomed Ankalaev with only 6 fights into your career.
Honestly, I feel great, you know. I went out there, I dominated 15 minutes. These guys want to see blood. They expect me to knock everybody out in 25 seconds or choke them out in a minute. And the reality is, these guys are all professional fighters that have been trained over a decade.
After losing a brutal battle to Merab, Sean O'Malley surprised everyone by demanding a rematch. Merab didn't hesitate to say he's open to running it back, but critics argue that Sugar Sean needs to earn another title shot. Henry Cejudo is one such critic. The former double champ insists that O'Malley isn't a pay-per-view sensation and doesn't deserve immediate redemption. He'd rather see Corey Sandhagen in line for a chance, especially given the chaos at the top. Yet O'Malley's confidence hasn't wavered. He believes a rewatch proves the fight was closer than the judges indicated. Merab, riding high on a new wave of fans, seems unbothered by either scenario. If UFC executives want to set up an O'Malley rematch, he'll sign the contract. If they decide it's time for someone like Sandhagen, he's game for that too. And you won't believe the aftermath, because any of these matchups could reshape the bantamweight hierarchy. An O'Malley win might kickstart the hype train all over again, while a Merab victory could solidify him as the division's unstoppable champion. Either way, the rest of the challengers, Cejudo included, are waiting to see how things fall. Right now, the UFC is teetering on the edge of monumental changes. Will Jon Jones finally put pen to paper for a massive showdown with Tom Aspinall, or will he pivot to Alex Pereira in an unprecedented cross-division clash? Is Bilal Muhammad the one to shatter Shavkat Rakhmonov's unblemished record? And can Anthony Smith truly walk away from the sport on a high note? Will Conor McGregor make good on his BKFC promises? Or is it just another twist in his never-ending saga? Every corner of the MMA world is buzzing with intrigue. Champions are switching weight classes, top contenders are calling each other out, and retired legends are still flirting with unexpected comebacks. While fresh controversies and new rumors keep us guessing, one thing is certain: we're on the verge of a seismic shift in multiple divisions. Keep your eyes glued to these stories, because as MMA history shows, anything can happen. When the dust finally settles, the sport may look entirely different, leaving us all eager for the next chapter in this exhilarating MMA ride.